This is the silver 1 month overview reading for June 2022. It is currently May 23rd, 2022 at 9:24 p.m. So the overall theme and behavior for the month of June is going to be sideways fluctuations with an upward trend. So kind of like one of these type of things, like this, right? But there's going to be a couple of sharp dips in there, revisiting a past problem or a past low, we should say. And those two sharp dips, it looks like we have one on the 6th and we have one on the 17th. Possibly another one on the 14th. And the other thing that's important to point out about the Chariot card is that sideways fluctuation with the upward trend precedes a decline. All right, so we have on the 1st we see ourselves falling from a high that we had at the end of May. Looks like we poke up through a resistance level with some sideways fluctuation, but then we're just above it briefly, and then we come back down and it makes kind of like an A shape, a capital A, if you will, in the English language, with the price level being the line across. It goes like this through it. On the 2nd, we have a notable decline, multiple headwinds, and it looks like we have a trade opportunity towards the end of the day, possibly. Looks like it's possible that that's actually the high for the day at the end of the day, and then there's a sharp decline. Looks like we move to a low on the 3rd, our first low for the month. And there's a fast sudden move higher within a period of volatility off of that low. However, the following day it looks to me like we have a deeper low. We have a sharp dip on the 6th. I'm advised to be cautious. I try not to trade around the prudence card. Multiple false tops, multiple false bottoms, just a lot of treachery. And there's a local high in there. There's two local lows and a local high on the 6th as well. So if you're looking at a one-day chart, of a one-day chart for the 6th, there'll be two prominent local lows and one prominent high there. Looks like a sharp dip off of that prominent high. And that prominent high, there'll be like a period of bullish rotation and then a sharp dip from there. Ace of Swords price level possibly will be a significator there. And we meet a price level at the Knight of Discs at one of the local lows on the 6th. And it also looks like at least one of the local lows is a fake out. I'm advised to be cautious there. It looks like that's probably where the caution is advised, is at that local low, likely earlier in the day. On the 7th we have. Okay, so the first month's low is likely it's either like the 3rd or the 6th or both. You know, it's like another low on the 6th. Then on the 7th, we have 3 crisscrosses through the same price level, and on the 3rd cross, it confirms a bullish trend. And then we have more sideways fluctuation with a bullish trend moving in the 8th, moving up through a resistance, and then staying there briefly before falling back down below that resistance. Looks like there's a cash-in opportunity at a low on the 8th as well. We have our second main trade opportunity for the month. So the first one was on the 6th in the midst of that deep rally, or that deep decline lower. Our second trade here, as far as trade correlators are concerned, is on the 9th. We have sideways rotation along a support level. Sideways rotation along the support level. We come to the end of a bullish trend in there, and then there's a decline to a low. So we have what appears to be We go from a month's low on the 3rd, possibly again on the 6th, and we move a little bit higher on the 7th, higher on the 8th. Looks like we fall on the 8th as well into the 9th, and we meet that support on the 9th, where sideways rotation is concerned. There's a decline in between the 9th and the 10th, somewhere in there, late 9th, early 10th, to another like notable low. May not be a month's low, but it's a notable trough. And out of that, on the 10th, we have a fast sudden move higher, marking the end of a decline. Looks like it's at the end of the day that there's a cash-in opportunity there in our 3rd trade correlator. A good harvest. All right. We have a failed attempt to break through resistance, followed by a decline through an important support level on the 13th. Looks like we possibly touched that Ace of Swords resistance level again, and we fall from there with increasing volatility. It'll either be the same Ace of Swords that we had that we fell from around the 6th, or it'll just be correlated to another Ace of Swords that we'll see on a local. But on the 13th, there's a trade opportunity in the midst of that. So it looks like probably mid to late in the day on the 10th, in the midst of that fast sudden move higher out of a decline. That likely is an opportunity for me to open up some short positions or puts. And we have a failed attempt to break through resistance on Ace of Swords is again on the 13th, followed by a decline through support. So if I'm not looking to make a day trade, what I would do is I'd hold puts from that high on the 10th over the weekend, and then sell them at a low. Looks like late in the day on like the second part of the second half of the trading day, somewhere in there on the 13th. All right, on the 14th we have a move higher along a diagonal support level. There's two local highs on that daily chart for the day of the 14th, and there's two local lows as well. But what's interesting is that we have a notable move lower out of that move higher. So we travel along a diagonal support level, and then we break down through that support level with increasing volatility as we move lower into the end of the day. Huh. 14th's a little tricky. We may have a high there at the end of the day on the 14th. But out of whatever this rally is here around the 13th, 14th, we should have multiple failed attempts to break through key resistance, and then we decline from there. So there's a high here. Yeah, there's a high here on the 14th. Excuse me, guys. But there's a notable move between the lows and the highs. Like there's a lot of range that's made on the 14th. In one direction or another. I'll have to look at the dailies in much closer regard to identify that further. On the 16th, we have a high and a low, a month's high and a month's low correlator, both on the 16th. So what I see is sideways fluctuation there. Looks like we have another major low on the 17th, but we move notably higher out of that. So, oof, tricky. All right, so it's a little blended here, but we go from a trade opportunity at a low late on the 13th to a high here on the 14th. Multiple failed attempts to break resistance somewhere here between like the 14th and the 16th, and then from there we have what appears to be a gap down early on the 17th. So we may fall hard on the 16th into the 17th, something like that, and then we push out of that. As the day progresses, there's a definite notable sharp decline on the 17th in there somewhere, so it could be like overnight on the 16th, 17th, or maybe it happens It might happen again overnight over the weekend, because we have the Knight of Discs again here. Knight of Discs is, to me, is the month lows. So we have them here on the 6th. We have it again here on the 17th. We have it again on the 20th. And the reverse clairvoyant anchors also are speaking towards that. So again, looks like we start the day off low on the 20th, possibly a gap down. If the day finishes higher on the 17th, like I expect, we'd have a gap down Monday morning, with a big move to the upside out of that, a fast sudden move higher out of that sideways rotation that we'll find ourselves in early in the morning. Almost like irrational move higher. And there's a trade opportunity in that irrationality. We have sideways fluctuations, usually with a bullish trajectory to them on the 21st. On the 22nd, we have On the 22nd, we have an opportunity position for both directions, so puts and calls. We may visit that Ace of Swords price level again. It looks like it's highlighted for like the end of the week here, all 3 days here. We have the Ace of Swords and another fake out as well, something to be cautious of towards the low on the 22nd. So we have two local highs. Off of both of those local highs, there's a sharp dip lower. Looks like one takes place in the midst of some sideways rotation around a high, and then there's a sharp dip lower, and the other one just from the high, there's a notable move to the downside through an important support level. But again, there's volatility that increases as we move forward throughout the day, and I'm advised to buy protection at the end of the day, or around towards a high around the end of the day on the 22nd. Ace of Swords again on the 23rd. Trade opportunity as well. And it's the science card, so whatever the price level is there on the 23rd, it's going to be very important. It's going to have an impact. Likely, it looks to me like it's going to hold as resistance again. And another trade opportunity from like a high there. We sell from overbought territory at a local high on the 24th. We sell off from that Ace of Swords again through an important price level and through an important support level. There's news that comes out over the weekend. It's significant news that comes out over the weekend. So between the 24th and the 27th. Looks like we probably start off low on the 27th, but there's a breakout and an irrational move higher on the 27th into the 28th, where we have what looks to be likely a month's high or a new month's high after all those lows. And a local high on the 28th, where there's a trade opportunity around the Ace of Swords again. And we fall sharply from that local high through an important support level. Same thing again, following the Ace of Swords. We sell down from a local high on the 29th, and they're possibly at the same Ace of Swords level. We sell from near overbought territory on RSI and from a local high on the 29th. Again, Ace of Swords on the 30th. Wow, that whole week. So like the last 7 days, it looks like we're probably attempting to break through resistance the last 7 days of trading days of the month. Excuse me, the last 8. And it looks like on the 29th, or excuse me, on the 30th, we may very well break through it temporarily, but then we fall sharply, notably sharp low. There's 3 local highs in there and 2 local lows and a high and a low correlator for the month. So we're going to move higher to reach one of those local highs on a day's chart for the 30th. So move higher to reach one of those local highs, but then we're going to fall back down to where we moved from. It's going to be like an equal move in both directions. Another big move to the upside to reach one of those highs, and a sharp dip out of bullish rotation around one of those, at least one of those highs. Yeah, okay, so I think those, what it looks like to me is we start off high and we fall sharply, but there's a couple like kickbacks on the way down. And that's how we finish the month, at a local low after a local high somewhere in there, possibly multiple days in there towards the end of the month. The following month is decline. It's the strife card, so it's like decline along. He's spiking up to resistance on the way down, and it's a lower spike each time, and a lower low each time. And they spike up, the resistance that it spikes up to is usually going to be moving averages in a bearish formation. That looks to be the sneak preview for the following month. The behavior around the month's highs is going to be, there's going to be a big push to the month's highs, but a notable reversal and a big move lower off of those month's highs. The behavior around the month's lows, moving into the month's lows, we're going to have sideways fluctuation with bearish trend, but it also, those bearish trends with the sideways fluctuation will precede an incline. And that's the behavior around the local lows, or around the month's lows. Also looks to me like they're in close proximity to each other, month's highs and month's lows. So within a couple of days, like within a 3-day period tops, usually it's closer, but we'll say within there of each other. And that's silver for June 2022. Really appreciate your support and your continued interest in this reading. Looks like we've been pretty on point with the 1 year up until just here at the end of the. Well, it's not too late. We still have some in May as well. Some May left to see a high come out of there. So we'll see. So far, it's been a really good 1 year reading, and the months have been awesome as well. Hopefully, this has been helping you. Love to hear how it is, and look forward to giving you more information as we go. Best of luck to you. Pay it forward, my friends, and I'll see you on the next one.